All right, guys, so we're back again. Today's going to be a little bit of old, a little bit of new. I'm going to start out with a little bit of the old. As you saw in our last edit, the fender looked amazing once we were able to use the right equipment. But then, you know, obviously you want it to be perfect. So a couple of days went by, and then we started like looking at it really carefully. And hopefully, I don't know if it'll come out on video, but here, as you can, right here, as the light hits it, you're gonna see there's a slight wave pattern to it. After a lot of research, I realized that it's because we never block sanded correctly. Now we have the gigantic block sander. So we're gonna be, hopefully with this, once we're gonna be doing our sanding here, and this will cause everything to hopefully smooth out and prevent those slight little waves that we ended up getting. At least that's the theory that I've read. So hopefully, again, first time doing this, so you know, hopefully that'll work out. Okay. So then we're gonna be spraying and hopefully doing that over again, and hopefully we can get rid of that and that little piece that I actually burned off of the paint. So we needed to fix it anyway. So that's why I have no problem doing that over one. Again, now that I know that we can get a nice shine out of it. From there, we're going to be moving over to the hood. The hood's going to, you know, I was kind of afraid of jumping over the hood because being such a big panel, and again, being that we're still shooting with a can, it's going to take a lot of spray, a lot of paint. And so luckily this thing was primed before, but we're still going to sand it, especially right here in this spot right here, where whenever we got this, I don't know who had this, had some kind of shock that actually hit from the bottom and dented it upwards. So we're going to use some body hammers. We're going to fix that a little bit down. We're going to grind it down all the way down to the metal, put some body filler, and then hopefully everything comes out nice. I mean, it's easier said than done. It all looks great in theory, but when, you know, this is the first time you do it, who knows how it'll turn out. But yeah, so we're going to move to the hood after that, and we're actually going to leave the M bumper late for last, just because there's no work to be done on it except, you know, just straight painting and scuffing. And so if it's all successful, then we're just going to go straight for that, to that after, right, the last thing. And I mean, the good thing is, once we do this, I mean, it'll look like almost a finished car, and like I meant to do the black bumper thing. So we'll see. All right, wish us luck. All right, so I went ahead and sanded everything on the fender down to a point where I think it's kind of straight or so. So I went ahead, heading the hood right now, so I laid down a little bit of guide coat. I actually bought it and actually did say guide coat, which is kind of cool instead of just a black paint. So I sprayed a light bit of coat, and I started sanding with the big block with 320 right now. And I think I picked the worst hood I could have ever done, because I mean, I see so many low spots right now that I know I'm gonna have to do some body filler on certain sections in here, but it's kind of nice, you know, at least with the guide coat I can find out where those areas are. But you know, I'll commit to this before let's see what, you know, what comes out of this. But all right, so now I'm gonna keep sanding the rest of the hood. Hopefully we'll identify where we're gonna need to put body filler. We're gonna take those areas down as low as we can go, fill it, and then hopefully sand again. So there's going to be a lot of sanding involved here, so it's not going to be quick at all. Yeah, it happens. Okay, so I spent the whole day yesterday sanding. I really didn't think it was going to take that long. It was, honestly, it was tiring. Seriously, I barely wake up this morning. But after all day, this is the side that I realized that it had more issues when it comes to like wavy and dents and stuff. So I used the body filler, I used some spot putty, and got it as smooth as I think I can get it. Literally after hours on end, I think that's it. So today, the goals for today are to finish sanding a couple of areas there, sand the whole thing down with a 600 grit to kind of make it all nice and smooth, and hopefully take the hood out, and we're gonna primer it again, and hopefully get it ready for painting. So I'm aiming for either this afternoon or tomorrow to start painting this. So I'm crossing my fingers, and we'll see. All right, so the hood's out. I'm kind of doing one final run through, kind of feeling all the edges. There were a couple spots where I feel like it needed a little bit of more body filler, but I could be picky, and just put a little bit of spot putty and sand it down. But I'm not going for perfection, but I still think that once we're done with this, it'll still look really good, or at least pretty good. So. I don't know. I'm gonna do one last check, and eventually I'm gonna start laying down some primer. Nah, I'm being really lazy right now. So there's one spot there that I really do need spot putty, and I thought I was gonna get away with it, but it looks like I'm not. So I know that if I actually go through with it, I'm gonna regret it, and then I'm gonna be seeing that one spot. And I'm gonna be kicking myself that I should have done this before it got any worse. Let that dry for another 15 minutes or so, and then I'll buff it out, and that's it. I really meant sand it out, but we'll kind of figure it out. Alright, so we're back and everything's sanded now through, and I did find a few more other things that I've decided to go ahead and tackle. So now, I don't know, we're going to lay down that first thin primer coat and see where we go from there. Also forgot to say, I also ran the degreaser all over it. I almost forgot that step, and it wasn't until I read the back of the primer that that it reminded me of it. So I'm kind of glad I took a last peek at it. Got to be freaking kidding me. How did I manage to lose the nozzle? What? Aha. Crisis averted. Okay. All right, so I think I'm gonna do second, third coats or fourth coats tomorrow. As it stands right now, I gave up on using the trigger, as you saw, and it's actually not bad. I'm surprised that I have that much control over just the tip. But what I'm gonna do is I figure I'll let it cure overnight, so that way I can sand it down a little bit, because I can see a lot of particles that are building up on it. Fortunately this is not a dust-free zone, so that way tomorrow after it cures, I'll sand it down real quick, and I'll do the whole steps, degrease it over again, and that way hopefully I won't keep building up and all that dust that's kind of embedding itself there. Obviously I don't want that to show once the base coat goes in, so I'm hoping that tomorrow things will be looking better. I mean, I'm fairly happy with what's going on here. I know that it's because I don't have enough cover. I don't really know the spray pattern that well, so that's why the big pattern right here, the center part, is kind of becoming a little bit difficult for me. But again, hopefully tomorrow, once I sand it down, things will be a little bit better, and that way, at least it'll be up to my liking. At least, you saw how picky I am, especially with the fender. Like it worked, but it wasn't what I expected up until the end, and then I happened to mess it up. So after this, I'm going back to the fender. So, all right. So one more day. All right, so I spared you guys a little more sanding. So I started once again sanding. That fuzz that I told you that I felt like had settled down on it is now gone. So I went ahead and sanded it with 320 grit. Then again with 600 grit. So now I'm ready to kind of, degrease it once again. And then we're gonna lay down another coat. So I'm hoping to do 2 more coats like this. And then so that we can get ready to just lay down the base coat. So right now, little degreaser, little elbow grease, and we're ready for the next coat. For once, I really wish I would have bought one of those painting masks, because I know for a fact that my sweat actually fell on the primer and caused these little dots that you see here. So I don't know how I'm going to tame this sweat right now, but I'm sure as heck trying to avoid anything dropping. Alright, so I'm really liking the coverage on that coat right there. So hopefully, one more coat, we'll sand, and hopefully we're ready to paint. Okay, so I figured while we wait for that to kind of cure and everything, I'm going to tackle this again. As you can see here, this is the finished product after we sanded everything down. And again, this is all the bonder work that we had to do. And again, this is where it was kind of wavy here. So I sanded as much as I could, and it still had some waves, so I ended up filling it as well. And this one actually, it's funny because I'm actually pretty happy with the body work here. I can't feel a dip anywhere, so now that makes me smile, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and primer this, so that way it's on par with the hood, and we can get back to hopefully finishing both of these at the same time later on. So yeah, this is next. This is round 2 or round 3 of this thing, so I'm hoping that this will be it. All right, 24 hours later, now we have a fully primed hood. I'm gonna see if today we're gonna start wet sanding, and hopefully we can get it super smooth so we can lay down a base coat. So I'm actually kind of happy with the way the wet sanding turned out. I mean, you can see the nice shine everywhere. Even based on the reflection alone, it doesn't look like there's too many spots where there's any like horrible dents. So I'm kind of pleased. And if I sound shocked, it's because I kind of am. Especially being the first time that I kind of work with body filler and stuff like that. So did I do it perfect? Probably not. But hopefully it can only get better from here. So now I'm gonna dry everything else, and hopefully we're gonna lay down a base coat soon. And while we wait for that to dry, we're gonna wet sand this. All right, we're now dry, degreased, tack cloth now, and then after this, it's base coat time. I'm worried right now, and I had a hard time laying down that primer, so I'm hoping that I have enough paint for that whole hood, and B, that it covers really good. I mean, that's the biggest panel I've ever done, let alone rattle can it. So you may see a lot of, and while I'm painting and in the high speed here coming up, but that's only if I'm kind of running into some weird issues. Otherwise, it'll be smooth sailing. So let's find out. I ran into an issue with what I've later found out to be named dry overspray. Apparently, I guess I was way too far in certain areas, so apparently it happens on big panels like this, since, you know, it's good to learn. So it apparently was too far in the center, so it literally feels like a rough texture. So now I'm gonna wait it. I'm gonna wait and let it dry for about an hour or so. I'm gonna go ahead and sand it a little bit, and hopefully next time I do my next base coat layer, then I'm gonna be a little bit closer. So now I know. All right, guys. So here we are, another day. I'm not particularly happy with the look of it, and I feel like this is what I said on every other random paint job. But this job in particular, being that it was such a wide area, it was completely unexpected. I had already bought 5 cans of paint, and I completely ran out, just kind of making sure that everything was all well covered. And I think I must have done 3-4 coats or something like that. And I can still see some areas where I think it's kind of a little bit blotchy, and I really can't afford to do anything else. So I'm gonna see if I can tack cloth all the little left residue of the paint that was dried in there, and hopefully we're gonna start with the clear process. But again, I'm not really feeling it right now, so I'll have to live with it. I think this will be kind of another thing like the nose panel, where I'll call it a battle scar, or, you know, I'll have a story to tell from this. But definitely next time, this is not happening rattle can again, ever. Hopefully if I do try it again, by then we'll have our gun and our whole compressor set up, because no. I realized that the problem that I ran into was that you're supposed to be completely perpendicular to the, you know, paint surface. So if I were to flip the can upside down, then there would be no spray. So, and that's the only way to be perpendicular. So I would have needed to have the hood at an angle somewhere, and that way it would have sprayed nicely, which explains why the fender that we tried and the front nose grill, when we were painting them, it was a perpendicular angle. So I know that that's where I kind of messed up, and maybe next time I'll have to jerry rig something, maybe even if I have a sprayer, just because I'm not confident in what in the process yet. You know, just when I think I'm getting comfortable with at least rattle canning stuff, no, it didn't come out well. So anyway, tack cloth, clear, and I'm hoping, you know, at least it's something that I can live with. I hope so. I mean, I got no choice at this point. Alright, so I was pleasantly surprised with the shine that came out of that, and it's funny, I almost envy the camera point of view, because when you look at it really close, it's not that great, but damn does it look really good when it's on the viewfinder here. So yeah, at least on screen, and, you know, when it's posted, you guys are gonna be like, wow, it looks really good. But no, not really. The camera just kind of creates an optical illusion. I'm gonna do a quick little flyover around here so you can see what I mean about that. But you're gonna see lots of little dust particles, and then I actually had a freaking kamikaze fly just jump in right at the last pass, and you should have seen it when I was like picking at it. But what the heck, man? So another thing that I realized is that my sweat drips like there's no tomorrow. So I think I guess I should be wearing one of those, you know, F1 racing you know, socks on my head when I'm doing this. But overall, I guess, you know, once we polish it out, it's gonna look pretty good, you know. Not perfection, you know, but yeah, hey, how perfect can you get at this with doing it this way? But at least it'll be I'll be happy enough, so it'll have a complete car. So now I under ordered the amount of paint that I'm using, so I need to purchase some more for the fender. So now we're just waiting on the fender, and we'll see when the next step holds for us. All right, so it's been a couple days, and today is wet sanding day. It's been, you know, I'm hoping that all these extra sweat stains, because that's all they are, sweat stains and a couple of things sand off. So I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm hoping that at least with the initial 1200 sand, I'm going to be able to smooth out a little bit of those imperfections. I'm kind of hesitant to start at 1,000, then move up to 1,200 and then 2,000, because I last time I don't know, after now I'm kind of scared after last time kind of taking off a little bit of the paint when I was buffing. I don't know how, if I literally went all the way and kind of got rid of the clear that I've got. So I'm gonna be a little more, you know, I think I'm willing to deal with imperfections in the paint, but I don't want to run to the point when I get to the point where I actually burn through it and it goes all the way down to, because that's not acceptable. So I'm crossing my fingers that this works out, and I'll live with whatever I've got. I just hope that it's not missing paint like last time on the fender. So, because I don't have any more paint, and I'm done buying rattle cans. Done. So far, so good. I see a couple of the little dots where my sweat actually fell in the clear, and they're actually coming down, which I'm totally surprised. There's still a little bit of texture that I'm going to see if I do the 1200 one more time, and then before we move over to the 2000 grit. But so far, I'm surprised. Dry a little bit so we can see where we need to focus on. So you'll see these little dots there where, you know, the darker spots. So again, that would be like the orange peel. So I need to keep hitting it with the 1200, and it's slowly coming off. There's some areas that you can see here that are a little bit better blended, but I think I need to go out and get me a little bit more of the 1200 grit just in case I run out, because I feel like maybe the paper's not biting down as much as it should be right now. So I'm gonna take a break, get some more paper, come back and continue. All right, so I think our 1200 grit sanding is actually done. So I left a little bit of the orange peel on purpose, because last time when I was doing the fender, the orange peel actually was gone completely, and it actually didn't match the rest of the car. So I'm going for a light orange peel look, so hopefully this will match what's there on the car right now, at least in theory. So I'm going to start with doing the 2000 grit now. Hopefully we can get this finely polished, I guess, and then we'll start with the machine polishing. So, did I say that again? Yes. All right, 2000 grit sanding is officially done. Now we're gonna get the orbital sander or polisher, and we're gonna do our 3M step 1, and hopefully the shine will start coming through. Hopefully. I always get scared every time I see this, seriously. I don't grasp the idea of getting it to this dull and then getting the shine back out. But again, so far things are going pretty good. Knowing me, I'll probably mess it up at some point in this step, but I'm trying to be as good and as careful as I can, because God, I need this to turn out really good. All right, so rubbing compound has been applied, and it's pretty good. Not quite perfect, but still pretty good. So seriously, like all the concerns that I've had, and you can still see there's still some of these dots that you can see right there from my sweat, but you know, overall, honestly, being a rattle can, I'm not gonna be picky about it. So now I'm gonna do the machine polish. All right, so step 2, 3M step 2 is now complete and buffed, and we've got even more shine. I'm totally blown away. Holy crap. It literally, the only thing I've seen is that it literally is my blood, sweat, and tears, because I still see my embedded sweat stains on it. But you know what? It gives it character. You know what? I'm going to stick to that story from now on. But hell, it's rattle can. Holy crap. Here it is, the finished product. Step 3 is done. Step 3 was actually using our hand glaze. So I applied our class sealant glaze by hand and removed it by hand, and now I couldn't be happier. looking great. Yes, there are lots of imperfections, but I just wanted the shine to come through. And if we get closer here, you're going to see a lot of the imperfections, especially in this panel here. Yeah, you can see a little bubbling there. And so, but overall, acceptable, and brings us one step closer to getting this car back on the road.